What's up, babes? It's Nicole, your host of Throttle Babes Podcast. The podcast where badass women empower badass women with just two wheels. Join me as I share stories of women riders around the globe. Sit back and enjoy an inside look at the female motorcycle lifestyle. Let's get into it! Welcome back to Throttle Babes Podcast. I'm so excited to have everybody back again today for our first guest, who I had the honor of meeting in Sturgis this past summer. And as soon as I met her, I knew I wanted to have her on the show. So welcome, Joyce.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good. You sent me a preview of chapter 3, or maybe the third book.
Yes.
And I read it. Yeah. Yeah, I read it on the plane this past week, and it was so awesome. I loved it. And I was laughing when I was reading that little peek there. The grasshoppers.
Oh my gosh.
We had we must have just missed you by a couple of days, honestly. Because we were going home and you were coming, I think, back. I think we just missed you pretty much, but annihilated, absolutely destroyed by grasshoppers.
Oh my gosh. And so my phone was sitting, so I've got this mount so that I can do my map, So my phone is here. My camera of the phone is facing out, right? As I'm riding down the road. Grasshopper hit the camera of my phone, shattered the camera. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. What are the chances? Camera is this big, right? And yeah, the grasshopper shattered.
Did it still work?
It did for a few days, and then it cracked more. Then there was a second grasshopper, and yeah, so that's gonna be a part of the third book. My phone, this grasshopper, and I can already tell people are gonna be. You know how you felt when I lost that $500 and the makeup bag in the first book?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's gonna be an issue with my cell phone because of that grasshopper incident. I know people are just gonna be like, "Oh God, I can relate. Oh God, oh gosh." Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I need to book 3. It's gonna take a while. This one it's gonna be so much bigger. It's so much more. Yeah.
But that's just it, right? You start small and you work into it. So you have 2 under your belt. You know what you want to do and what you want to change and how you want to do it differently.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll kind of dive into that some more too. But first, I want to know, how did you get into riding?
Started, I guess, gosh, forever ago. My ex-husband, when we were 19, had a bike. We always rode, and then got a divorce and dated somebody else who had a bike and was on the back until we crashed. He crashed twice with me on the back. And then the second time, the first time he hit a badger. And then the second time he hit a goose 91 days after he hit the badger. And I got up, stood up after I hit the cement, stood up and said a lot of choice words and ended it with, "I'm getting my own bike." And the next weekend took the class, got a bike, and that was about 10, 11 years ago. We did a lot of 3-day, 5-day, 7-day rides. So immediately when I got my own bike, we took off and went on a 3-day long ride to Mount Rainier in Washington.
That's awesome. So what was your first bike? What was the bike you got after your license?
A Suzuki Boulevard S40.
Awesome.
Yeah. Single cylinder, little thumper. Great learning bike. great, great, great learning bike.
Absolutely. My first bike was a Suzuki Boulevard 650, and I have to agree that was like the best bike to learn on, to kind of
Yes.
master the roads, get going. Um, so then you've been riding for how many years now?
I think 11. Yes,
11. So you
yeah.
have a lot of experience under your belt, which is
It,
awesome.
yeah.
And so was this your first solo trip this past summer?
This was my first solo trip. Yes, it was my third coast to coast, but my first solo all by myself. And I will not go back to riding with somebody else. It was
Really?
amazing. Yes. Oh my gosh. The first day was a little scary. I mean, it
Mhm.
was. I was like, oh my gosh. And I knew I was going to be gone about 50-ish days. So it was a little scary, but then I'm like, hey, I have a Sportster, so I stop for gas every 100 miles.
Mhm.
And everybody I was riding with was just kind of cranky about the fact I had to stop every 100 miles. And not a lot I can do about it. Um, but I just could stop whenever I wanted. And I didn't have to tell anybody. I didn't have to explain to anybody that, I need gas. Guess what? I need gas again. And oh wait, now I gotta go to the bathroom. Or whatever. My shoe's untied. I want to stop. I just stopped. It was great. And I really wasn't ever like completely alone. I mean, every time you stop for gas, you stop for gas and people just talk to you. So I didn't feel alone, but I was
That's
always
awesome.
riding alone.
That's awesome. I, as well, have a small tank now, so I'm kind of the same boat. I have to stop every 100 miles or whatever and fill it up, but there's something so beautiful about that, getting to pull into all of these small spots, these
Yeah.
places you've never thought about going. Is there one that from your solo trip stands out to you or that you really remember?
A gas stop or
Yeah, or just an experience in general?
oh gosh.
It's
Yeah.
a loaded question.
Um, so many, so many. And the third book is more going to be about the people that I met across the country at the gas stations, at campgrounds, because I feel I was riding by myself. I felt like I met more people because when you're with somebody else, your conversation is between the two of you and you're more worried about that. It seems like but when you're by yourself, people just talk to you. They come up to you, you're more approachable. So yeah, lots of great gas station conversations. Um yeah, and met people that I normally would not have talked to. I feel like in a car you don't you don't talk to I had a lot of homeless people come up to me. Maybe not homeless, just down on their luck. And normally I feel like they would have been like, "Hey, do you have a dollar? Will you buy me a beer? Will you, do you have a cigarette or whatever?" Um, I didn't have that, but they came up to me and they were like, "Where are you going?" Because I had so many bags on my bike. "Where are you going? Wow, your license plate says, Washington State. You're far away from home." And that was really cool. I really, really and that happened more by myself than the 2 other times, when I was with somebody. So,
That's one of my favorite parts about biking and traveling is just all the people that you meet and everybody who isn't afraid to come up to you and say like, "Wow, you are a long way from home. Like, what are you doing? Where are you going? Why? How do you do this?" And it's just so cool. It just opens so many avenues and you create so many more relationships and build your network and it's just and sometimes I don't know if you'll ever see him again, but that one interaction was just so special.
yeah, and you won't forget it.
No.
That's yeah,
So
yeah.
now, how did you get into writing your books?
Um, So the first in 2020 did a coast to coast. Um, Portland, Oregon, we went to the beach so we could say we were on the West Coast, and then rode to Virginia Beach and then up to Pennsylvania. So I took my mom's ashes, and that's what made me go on the ride. My mother had just passed away a couple, gosh, maybe 10 days before we took off. So I was riding her ashes across the country, and I knew I wanted to journal while I was doing it. And so I was journaling along the way and then got home, and I just wanted to put more details in my journal notes. And a coworker I was journaling, and she was reading over my shoulder, and a good friend, and she was like, "That's pretty good. Wow." And she's like, "Can I read that?" And I was like, "Sure." So I gave her the notes I was writing, and she's like, "You need to make this a book. Like, other people would love to hear about this." And then I was like, "Well, would love I was thinking I was kind of doing it for my kids. So that I didn't feel like they were really interested in what I was doing, but I thought, well, maybe one day they'll be interested in reading what I did." And I still don't know if they're interested in reading what I did. But it just turned into the same person, the same coworker. I wrote it all out, and she was like, "Okay, well, let's get it published." And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And she went on YouTube and figured it out. And yeah, here we are. It was really that easy. Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that. So I met you this past summer in a back alley in Sturgis with my husband and my dad, and your bike
Yeah.
drew us in, and it was the same kind of thing like, "Wow, where are you going?" Like, you have so much stuff, and you were down, your bike needed a little bit of repairs at the time, and
Yeah.
then we started talking about your books, and I bought your books, and the first thing I did when I got home was read your books, and I loved them. I just felt as someone who rides, they were so relatable, kind of have the same experiences, the same moments. And I just was like, I have to have Joyce on the show. Like, so I
Thank
am
you.
so excited for number 3. I got that sneak peek and it was just
Number 3, I think, has a lot more, well, it has a lot more detail. My editors are like, "Okay, more, give us more details." It's gonna take a lot longer. I feel like the second book only took me 6 months to write.
wow.
And maybe I should have been making more journal entries along this 53-day ride, but it was also longer. My first ride was let's see, uh 17 day or 21 states in 19 days. So it was only 19 days. 17 states, 7,629 miles. And then the second book was 17 states in 17 days, 6,581 miles. So not as much as 50. This last ride was 53 days on the road. So there's a lot more to write about, and so much more to write about. Oh, just the amazing people and the things that happened. And yeah, so much more. So
That's
much more. So
incredible.
thank you. And so you are actually in book 3
No
because,
way.
yeah, because I just remember that. Because I pulled up to the shop, and I pull up, and then you guys walked up like right then, and you bought my book. I was like, so I messaged my best friend, and I was like, "I just sold 2 books, and I didn't even get off the bike." I said, "I wasn't even off my bike, and I sold 2 books." And she's like,
That's so
"Yes."
awesome.
So it was my very first 2 books I sold at Sturgis were to you.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
so
So
awesome.
it's going in the book that I didn't even get off the bike, and I had sold 2 books at Sturgis. I was like, "Yes."
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's so awesome. Yeah, I was so
So
excited. I was just like so excited about those books the rest of the trip. I was like, all right, we gotta get home. I want to read
Gotta
this
go home and
piece.
read.
Yeah. I was like, and it's even cooler because I met her in person and she signed my books. Like, this is incredible. Felt like a rock star.
Yay! Yeah, I remember.
How do you prepare to go on a solo trip like that? How did you was it just kind of a whim of like, hey, I'm gonna go on a solo trip. I want to do something different.
Well, so did you read book 2? The second
Yes.
more.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the first trip and the first book, and I had a great time. Jason and I had a wonderful, wonderful time. We never argued. We never there was just, yeah, sure, let's do this. Yeah, sure. If one person said, let's take this road, I was like, okay. We just did it. And we camped almost the whole time. I think we got 2 hotels, 3 hotels, maybe. And then the second book, the second trip, I don't want to spoil it, but we did not camp as much. So let's just say that. And I had a great time. We had a great time, but it was not exactly the way I would have wanted to do it. So the last thing I said in book 2 was, I think I'll just do it myself next year. And then all of a sudden next year got here and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm doing it by myself. I didn't have a boyfriend, don't have a boyfriend, didn't have really anybody to go with me, and who has 53 days off work. So I just did it by myself. And it was really intimidating at first, but I just told myself, okay, I had book signings along the way. I think I had 21 book signings at different Harley dealerships across the country, Sturgis, and yes. So I was like, okay, day 1, I need to get here. And that was all I thought about was, okay, I just need to get here day 1. Day 2, I'm going to get to this point. Day 3, I'm going to get to North Dakota. And then after Sturgis, it was like, okay, I have 2 days to get to Chicago. And so I didn't really plan. I didn't plan the route at all. I just knew where I had to be. So some mornings I would wake up in my campground and somebody would walk by and start talking to me and they're like, where are you headed? And I'm like, I don't know. Where should I go? Do you know anything cool around here that I should see? Like, where should I go? Any cool roads? And people just told me where to go. And I just went that way. I mean, I knew where I had to be. Like, there was a point when I was Cleveland. Yeah, when I left Detroit, my book signing in Detroit, I knew I had to be in Portland, Maine. And I had about 5 days to get there. And I knew I had to hit every state. So it was like, okay, head that way. And and then I met the sweetest, sweetest guys at the Motown Harley. Motown Harley put a tire on my bike and gifted me with a tire. And I was in the dealership and talking to these 1% guys, and they were like, "You're doing what?" And I was like, yeah, where should I go? And they sent me on this road that was probably one of my most favorite roads. Well, it was a really cool road. Around Lake Erie, right on the side of Lake Erie. And so yeah, everybody kind of planned my trip as I went. It was really
That
cool.
is so cool. I think sometimes the best thing in life is to have no plan
Yes, no
and
plan.
just go. Just go. Like,
Yeah,
that's kind of how we were with our trip. We knew where we needed to go, but we just kind of detoured and asked locals if they had different routes or different roads.
yeah.
And yeah, you end up seeing some of the most incredible things that you would have never seen if you just had a plan and just went.
Yeah. And then if you have a plan, you meet somebody at a gas station and they say, oh, if I were you, I would take this road. Well, you have a plan. You really can't do that. So
Yeah.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so out of all of the roads, out of all of the routes, everything you went through this past summer, was there a favorite piece or place that you traveled through besides the Lake Erie?
Yes, probably Vermont. Um,
Okay.
what is that? There was a town, really, really, really neat town, in Vermont. Oh, shoot. Um, little town. The towns were like like Main Street. What I wonder what people outside of the United States think about the United States, where the houses had hanging baskets, they all had a flag on them. Um, just picture perfect little towns, and you just went from one town to the next town through these back country roads. Um, Woodstock, Vermont. That was probably the cutest little town. Favorite roads. Yeah, Vermont, and I'm looking. Vermont, New Hampshire, um, New York had some. I wasn't like in New York City, but
Mhm.
really neat roads, very different from Washington State, Oregon. We've got beautiful, beautiful roads out here. So it's hard to come up with other ones when in California. Um
Mm.
101, love Highway 101. I'm thinking. I try to stay on the two lane
Yeah.
highways rather than the interstate unless I had to get somewhere quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, I try to do the same as well. I'm not a big fan of the interstates because I actually live up in Canada and I am from like very small prairie, kind of like North Dakota, just really small farm, ranchy. So those interstates scare the crap out of me because
oh yeah.
I'm not used to that.
Yeah, I went through Chicago, through Detroit, on the interstate, and I'm going through Chicago, leaving my book signing in Chicago, and the boys at the dealership there, uh, in Chicago, they're like, "Where are you going to stay tonight?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm going to look for a campground." And they're like, "It's 7 o'clock at night, okay, Chicago." And they're like, "You got to get out of Chicago before it gets dark." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And they're like, "No, you got to get out of Chicago before it gets dark." I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I will." And they're like, "Take this road and get out of Chicago." And I understand why after I yeah, it was crazy. The highway, there was a car burning on the side of the freeway on the
Oh
interstate.
my gosh.
And yeah, they were like, "Do not stop until you get out of Chicago." So yeah.
I give you massive credit for riding a bike through Chicago. We did it in a truck, and I
Yeah.
swear I will never do it again. It was terrifying, that traffic. We were morning rush hour.
Oh
Like,
gosh.
we
Yeah.
had to pull over, and we just like my husband and I looked at each other and we're like, "What did we just do?" Like, that was insane. So the fact that you went through on a bike at night that's wow.
In the dark. Yeah, it was yeah, yeah.
So do
Not
you
my favorite.
do yeah, I don't blame you. Do you do a lot of riding at night in order to get through this big stretch?
It's so funny. When right, the week before I left, I was like, "Oh, I should get," somebody said, "Oh, you should get a Daymaker headlight. It will make all the difference in the world." And I'm like, "I'm not riding at night." And then I was like, "Oh, wait. I have a book signing in Chicago, and the next day I have to be in Detroit.
Wow.
Yes, I'm gonna be writing at night." And then whoever planned this book signing tour did a really bad job of me. Um, I I had a book signing one day in Philadelphia, or not Philadelphia, but in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia. The very next day, I had to be in New Hampshire. Or no, um, yeah, Connecticut. And I was like, um, who planned this? Like, what was I thinking? So yeah, I had to ride, and I'm not a morning person, so I would much rather rode late at night than get out of bed 5 minutes earlier. So yeah, I did a lot of riding at night. So the day
Wow.
with your headlight, I'm so glad I splurged for that.
So it's a necessity if you're planning on night riding.
Yeah, or you're not planning on night riding and you find yourself night riding.
That happens quite often as well, unfortunately.
Yes. There was a a lot of riding in California at night. So
Okay.
yeah. And just found myself going, I'm not where I need to be. I'm gonna
Yeah.
continue on. Looking for campgrounds at dusk. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you must just love to travel in general because correct me if I'm wrong, you're a flight attendant when you're not riding. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I do
That's
love
in-
to travel. Yeah.
that's incredible. So how do you make that work? Like
My
flying
schedule,
and riding?
yeah, my schedule is really flexible being a flight attendant. Um, we plan our schedules a month at a time. And as long you can kind of work as much as you want or as little as you want, as long as there's enough coverage. And you can just drop your trips. So that's how I was able to get 55 days off. I had I think I had like 6 weeks vacation and then manipulated my schedule. So hoping to do it again this summer, but we'll see if the
Awesome.
schedule allows. Yeah. So right now
Yeah,
I'm trying to make my schedule work so that I can go to Arizona Bike Week the end of March, first part of April,
that's awesome.
weather permitting or weather not permitting. I guess I'm still going. So
Yeah. So are you able to ride year round where you are or do you get snow, kind of crappy weather?
Portland, Oregon, we get a lot of rain. So like today, I was just talking to a friend in Kansas City, Missouri, and he was saying, "Oh, it's 50 degrees here." And I was like, "Well, it's 45 here, but it's off and on drizzle." So, yeah, we get a lot of really nice days in February where it'll be cold, but it's sunny out. I probably ride a little bit. I used to ride a lot more in the winter, but now I'm like, yeah, I feel like I put enough miles on in the summer. Didn't really have to ride, but I was
Yeah.
saying today, I want to get my bike outside. I need to go for a ride. I rode last month for a few minutes and it was cold. It was 33 degrees, but sunny out. So yeah.
Yeah, I envy that. I envy that. We get a lot of snow, so we can't ride. So I just kind of have to go into the garage and just look at my bike sometimes and just be like, "Oh yeah, that's how beautiful you are. Just a couple more
Hi.
months.
Yeah,
I miss ya."
I couldn't do that. Yeah. I could go take my bike out. Almost, we don't get a lot of snow. So maybe one or
So,
two days
yeah.
a year. Yeah. My North Dakota guy friend,
Yeah.
um, he's like, yeah, it's negative 30 right now. And I'm like, what, how do you get from your house to the car? Like,
Very quickly.
yeah, and he's like, "Well, you auto start your car so it's warm before you leave the house." And I'm like, "And how do the cows not freeze to death? Like,
Yeah.
how like it just blows my mind. blows my mind. So the first snow, he's like, yeah, it'll be here until, February, March. Like,
Yeah.
the snow is going to be there. That's
Yeah.
just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why we do
April.
it.
Oh, but yeah,
Yeah. So
we don't.
this next summer, do you have destinations or spots you are wanting to go? Are you going with no plan again?
Sturgis. I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out a plan. I don't plan. But I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to stay in Sturgis. More book signings, probably. I'll be doing a book signing in that alley that I met you at the mechanic shop there. What is it called? Old school. Uh, yeah, old school choppers, something like that. So I'll probably be doing book signings there, and I don't have vacation time planned yet, so it's going to be kind of spur of the moment. Hoping for 2 weeks, Arizona Bike Week. I don't know. I keep looking at my map, and I'm like, I need to do. Got lots of requests to do Florida. Um, I don't really feel like I need to go back to the Northeast. I didn't leave anything there. But I would love to get back to Detroit. That's crazy. But I love Detroit. Kansas City is one of my favorite cities in the United States. So I would like to get back to Kansas City. This is going to come out wrong, but I already know it. I love Kansas City. They're very motorcycle friendly. There's tons of motorcycle bars and venues. And so, yeah, I want to go back to Kansas City. Wouldn't mind getting back to Minnesota. North Dakota was just so stinking beautiful. So maybe, I don't know. I'll be in California off and on, I think, a lot of the summer.
Yeah. Have you ever, someone was telling me the other day, Texas. Have you ever rode in Texas?
Yes, I have. Yes. Yes. On my way to New Orleans. Yeah, I rode through
Oh,
Texas. It took days to get through Texas, like 2 days to get through Texas.
really?
And it was hot. It was like it was well over 100, 106 or 7 degrees. Yes, it was so hot. It was so hot. I was melting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole ride, New Mexico, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, all 100 degrees, over 100 degrees every single day. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. They were saying that Texas has some really cool biker bars in there too. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that is funny. Oh no, that was North Dakota. No, that was Montana. Um, yeah, the chapter that you just read, day 3, I think. I was going through Montana, going, I love the names of the bars in Montana. The Spur, or the lone tree, or the lone cactus. I don't know. Lone tree must have been the lone tree. Um, just the names of the bars in Montana just cracked me up. I was like, I want to go and just see how many interesting
What's in
names.
there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Any plans to come up to Canada and ride in Canada?
Funny. I have. I don't know if you. Yeah, I've been to BC. Um, yeah, I've got friends in BC, so they are always like, "Come to Canada." I would love to ride in Canada. Yeah, I need
Mhm.
to. And that was the plan last summer, and then that fell through. It didn't happen. So yeah, I need to get up to Canada.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love if you came up to Canada, let me know. We could
Yes.
maybe do a little short stint together. and
Yes.
you can be on your way. That would be awesome.
And you're above North Dakota?
Yeah, I'm in Manitoba. So a bit of a jump over from BC, but
Yeah, not so that was my plan, was to ride from BC to North Dakota and drop down. Um,
okay.
but do you so there's a country western singer who lives up there, Coulter Wall,
Mhm.
you know. So I thought about going and stalking him up in Canada, up there. I would love to see him in concert, so
Yeah,
maybe that would get me there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I would love to go up to Canada above North Dakota because North Dakota is just so beautiful. And
Yeah.
I was almost in Canada. I was 40 miles away from Canada when I was in North Dakota at
Mhm.
one point. And it was just beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lot of like in my area is a lot of flatlands, wide open prairies.
Ah,
Like you can just kind of hammer down.
nice. So
Yeah.
it doesn't take you guys long to get to Sturgis.
No. What would it be? I want to
Right.
say yeah, like a day,
Yeah. So it
if
takes
that.
me 2.5, at least 2.5.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it takes me about 2.5 days. At
Yeah, cuz we actually rode home like we were there for a few days and then we just left in the morning and we were home by like late afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, that would be nice. Well, no. I mean, half the fun is getting there,
Yeah.
camping along the way, and, that is half the fun of getting there.
Yeah. So what we did this past summer actually was we went over to Medicine Hat and dropped down and we did like Montana, Utah, Idaho, Colorado, Wyoming, up to Sturgis and then home. So we did
Oh,
it in 2 weeks, yeah.
oh, wow.
And
That
we
would be
just camped
Oh, I love that's my favorite.
and tried to
Like,
hit every national park we could.
oh,
Incredible.
I want I wanna go to I think it's what national park is that one up there? There's only one I think there's only one national park I haven't been to, but Utah is, like, so stinking beautiful.
I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Oh
Where's your
my god.
furthest ride?
So this past summer, I've actually only had my license for 2 years now, I think. So this past summer was my first big trip. Um, but think I have to say Montana, Utah.
Ugh, yeah.
Like it was incredible.
And you're just sitting there the whole time going through Utah going, "Wow, wow, wow, it's so beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
that's the most beautiful. No, wait. Oh, wow, that's the most beautiful." Yeah, I like
Yeah. Like Glacier National
oh,
Park. You just like reach out and touch the rock as you're going by. Like it's just
yes,
oh my god.
with the
Zion.
waterfall
Yeah.
right there, like, you're getting wet from the
Yeah.
waterfall on the
Yeah.
road. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was kinda crazy.
Zion, yeah, you're, like,
Oh,
breaking your neck trying to look up, you're like, "Whoa, is
that
this
was
real?"
Zion was the first time I ever took my phone out and was videoing while I'm riding. I'm like, "Well, I gotta get this, I gotta get this." And I'm sitting here videoing and I'm going, "Oh, wait, here, let me sit on my phone. Where am I gonna put my phone now?" Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Oh,
was
man.
so yeah, I do wanna do a Canada.
I recommend it. There's some pretty spots up here. There's
Yeah.
also some really ugly spots too, but you gotta get through those to get to the good ones. I really wanna do Tail of the Dragon next summer. I hear a lot about that.
Um,
Have you done
I
it?
did Tail of the Dragon in 2020.
Yeah.
Um, I would I think it would be fun to camp there, like, at the tail of the dragon, just
Mhm.
because it's it's like Sturgis where there are just so many
Oh.
bikers, and if you gotta go get a burger in the little restaurant at the very beginning, what they called the beginning of Tail of the Dragon. I did Tail of the Dragon backwards. So I did Tail of the Dragon and then stop and got a burger there. And there's just bikers everywhere, big tables, and it's kind of like you share a table with a whole bunch of people, and it makes people talk, and they're just super friendly, and I liked that. It was very, 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 very windy.
Yeah.
I don't recommend doing it on a weekend. I would do it on a weekday
Yeah.
because there's tons of little, I don't know what they call them, little rice burner cars,
Mm,
that are trying to go sideways and do all this weird stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Hmm.
Tail of the Dragon, it was cool.
Yeah. It's on my list. We'll see if we can make our schedules work. Then I definitely think we're gonna do it. But
That would be a long ride for you.
yeah. Like I
Yes.
think this past summer we did 6,000 clicks in 13 days.
How many
So it was
miles?
like that's a great question. That's a great question. I'd Google it right now. But it was a lot. Like it was 8-hour days every day.
Oh,
And
yes.
something I didn't know that was big in the States is monsoons.
Oh, yeah. Um, in Arizona, yes. In Arizona. That and thunderstorms. I mean, they get
Yeah.
really, but you probably do, North Dakota does. They get thunderstorms at night. That I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. Just looking. So it's 3,700 miles, 3,800 miles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In
Okay.
about 13 days. So, I mean, not big, but big enough. You're
No,
tired by the
big.
end of it.
Yeah, that's you're tired, you're sore, you come home and you're like, "I need a massage."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my bottom's kinda sore. It's funny though, everybody's like, the biggest question I get is, "Didn't your butt get sore?" And I'm like, "That is not what got sore." My
Yeah.
elbow, my
Yes.
wrist, because I don't have throttle lock,
Me
my
neither.
elbow got sore, and, I got a blister on my foot from my new Harley boots. Which
Oh,
I'm like, "My butt doesn't really get sore."
no,
I
if you have
guess
a good seat,
yeah,
it shouldn't get sore, right?
yeah,
And if we're, I think, fortunate enough to stop every
every
so
100 miles.
often to
Yeah.
get off and stretch, right?
Yes, yes, every 100 miles. That's why my
Yeah.
butt doesn't get sore.
Yeah.
I got I gotta drink of water, go to the bathroom, and get
Yeah.
gas every 100
Yeah.
miles.
About it.
Don't feel like you need to buy your forever bike, your first bike. I feel like get a smaller bike, get used to it. Don't if you get too big of a bike, I feel like I know some girls who just got intimidated by too big of a bike. So get a smaller bike. Don't spend a lot of money. Get a cheap little bike that you can learn on, and you're gonna learn what you want in a bike. Like you think you want this bike, but you just want that bike. Like you don't know, you've not ridden. So get a
Yeah.
little cheap bike, learn, and then make a list of what you want out of your forever bike. But I'm on my fourth bike, and I love her. She's my ill-equipped girl bike. Well, everybody's like, "Get a big bagger," and I'm like, for one, I don't have a boyfriend to push it backwards. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, "No, I like my ill-equipped girl bike. I like her." So I like stopping every 100 miles for gas and, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll get a bigger bike, but
You form a bond with your bike, right?
yes.
Even though
Yes.
it doesn't have maybe everything that it needs or it's not right, you just create a bond. You spend so much time on the road with
Oh
it.
my gosh. Yes. And especially funny because I would say, I would be like, we did
Yeah.
this and we did this. Oh, on this ride, we, it was my bike and me. It was just me, but it was we. We did this. It was
Yeah.
it was her and I. So
Yeah.
yeah, totally. I mean, and then there was a night in Alabama where I camped yeah, without really a campground. It was very strange. And I sat there with my tall boy beer and in my chair and I was literally talking to my bike.
Yeah.
It was a crazy day, and it was like, wow, we did this. Thanks for yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, you do form a bond with your bike.
I totally relate to that. I'm like quite often I'll rub her tank. Like I named my bike Chicago, and quite often I like rub her tank and I'm like, "Thank you so much. Like we did it. We made it. Oh my god." And
Yes.
so yeah, people think you're crazy, but it's just this weird passion that
Is it
unless you're
your
in
first
it.
bike?
Like my first bike was a
Oh,
Suzuki,
yeah.
and then now I have Chicago, which is behind me here.
Yeah.
Um she is like my first real Harley. So that's like a whole experience in itself.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I had 3 bikes that were not Harleys, and then I got a Harley, and oh, yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's something I don't know what it is. It's just something different about it that, yeah, just indescribable.
Yes. So are you going to the 120th anniversary of Harley in Wisconsin?
I would
So
love to, but I don't know if we will make it.
yeah. I would love to
So,
as well. I don't know if I'll make it.
yeah.
That was part of my I hate to say plan because I don't have a plan. That was part of my wish list last
Yeah.
summer was stopping in Wisconsin at the, factory there, the museum, and it didn't happen. I was
Yeah.
running late. Well, no,
Yeah.
somebody scheduled me a book signing, and so I had to
That's awesome. So how do you get into these book signings then? Like, you just reach out to them and say, "Hey, can I come set up?" Or
I do, yeah, I called a ton of dealerships, which I'm doing right now for Arizona Bike Week. Um, I reached out to Tucson Harley and Old Pueblo Harley in Tucson and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in your area. Would you like me to come in and do a book signing? And I will start promoting your dealership, and you can start promoting me coming." And I did stop there this summer, so they did know who I was, and they were like, "Yes, yes, yes, pick a day." And so I try to do it on days that they're doing an event like bike night or bike car show or um, I judged a lot of bikini contests this summer at different dealerships. That was fun. But yeah, I just reach out to the dealership and be like, "Hey, I've got a book about riding my Sportster across the country, and would you like me to come in?" And most of the time they're like, "Yes, we would. Yes." And so that's how that happens. But it's a lot of work. I do it all. I
oh,
reach
yeah.
out to everybody, and sometimes it takes days to coordinate everything, and but
Yeah.
it's a
Absolutely.
win-win
No.
for both of us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's awesome, like, when you're in the bike world or bike community, everybody shares the passion and they just wanna help and support and love each other, is what I often find.
Yes. They want to help you. They want they do it's so funny. Yeah, people want to help. They wanna connect. They wanna hear your story. They wanna tell you
Yeah.
their stories. Yeah. Bikers are amazing. Nowhere else can you just meet somebody and 10 minutes later they invite you to stay the night at their house. They
Yeah.
you know they'll run home and get their truck and trailer and come and pick you up if you break down. Bikers are so close. They're so tight and they're so helpful. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so awesome, and I know when we met you in Sturgis and you were saying, "Oh, I have to get my bike in the shop for, like, the rest of the day," my dad kept saying, "I wonder if we should just go back because he runs a little small bike shop, and he's like, "Maybe I should just go and help her, but she already had it booked in, and I've got tools, but maybe it's not enough," and and so it
Um,
just shows that, like, that piece again, right?
it's so funny because Desert Doctor is my mechanic there in Sturgis. He actually lives in Utah, but I met him at a gas station Oh, the very first summer I was riding my dad's ashes to the Grand Canyon. Um, and I met this old man at this gas station, and he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, hon, where are you headed?" And I was like, "To the Grand Canyon." He's like, "You're gonna need a new tire soon." And I start crying because my
Yeah.
dad had just passed away. And I was like, "That's something my dad would have said to me." You
Oh.
know, and my boyfriend at the time, he's like, "Yeah, you'll be fine. You don't need tires." But this gentleman, this older gentleman was, yeah, he's like, "You're gonna need a new tire. It's gonna get you there, but just know when you get home, you need a new tire." And I'm like, "Okay." And to this day, 11 years later, we are dear, dear, dear friends. But every year at Sturgis, I have to take my bike to him, and he just looks it over,
Yeah.
and he has to make sure it's running. So I left Portland without doing an oil change because I knew I'm going to get to Sturgis and he's going to do it. So there's no point in doing it before I left. But yeah, he always checks my bike out, make sure. Yeah, then he yells at me and tells me, "You rode all the way here with hardly any air in your tire. When was the last time you put air in your tire?" I'm like, "No, no." But now I have to check my tire pressure for him, and yeah. So it's funny because they'll stop and help you, and they don't even know you. It's yeah, and then you become friends, and now I have lifelong friends because of motorcycles and just meeting people on the side of the road or gas station, and yeah.
That is so awesome. I love that you guys have this super unique and special bond now just
Yes.
over a tire, right?
Retire. Yeah,
You
I
know,
love him.
that's I love that. It's so incredible and that, just made you think of your dad. Like that's
Oh,
something my dad would say, right?
yes. Yes.
Like that's I love that. That's so awesome. So, yeah, do you have any last words or any last encouragement? Anything that comes to mind that you want to share?
Um, they can go on crazybikerbitch.com, my website, and it'll take you to a link to Amazon where the books are. You can find them under Joyce Dietrich or Memoirs of a Crazy Biker Bitch. You can read the first couple chapters for free on Amazon, or check out my Instagram is Crazy Biker Bitch on Instagram. I don't know.
Perfect. I'll link everything below in the show notes as well so that everybody can find you and follow you and buy books. And I highly recommend that anyone listening checks out her books and reads them because if you ride, you're definitely going to relate. Or if you're curious, it'll definitely answer some questions for you.
So, are you going to Sturgis this year?
I am hoping to, yes.
Yes.
I
Perfect.
yeah. So I really hope I get there and I hope we can link up in Sturgis and maybe grab a beer or something and
Yes.
that would be so
Go for
incredible.
a ride, or yeah,
Yes.
have a big
Yes.
share beer. Yeah, absolutely. I would
Yeah.
love that.
I love
Thank
that. Yeah.
you.
So thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today. And I hope we get to do it again and I hope we get to meet in person again.
Me too. Me too. Thanks. I had a great time. Thank you.
And I wish you all the luck and all the best in your future travels. Safe riding always.
Shiny side up, right? Yes.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes.